Alrighty, hi. So, we're making another video today about how to grease D-tapes so they rewind faster after they get full of moisture and stuff. They kind of like to get bogged down after a while. So, this is my friend Mike's tape. That one's a 75 footer. This one's a 100 footer. So I think the spring's a little bit bigger in the 100 footers, but it's still in the 75 footer and the 100 footer share the same housing. So we're just going to kind of crack it open and get going. So you're going to need a 3/16 flathead screwdriver. Whoop. And just back off on the front cover. Don't want to take them out all the way, just back them out. Or make sure you have your thumb on there so the tape doesn't come completely unspooled. Oh, yep, it's going. And now we're going to want to count how many winds it takes to completely tension the tape. So let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Just loosen up a little bit more. 4. Ah, 4. Okay. I think for the 75 footers, it's usually something like 6, but that's all right. So we're going to leave that blue cover on. Take a pair of slip joint pliers. I want to grab that nut and take that off. I like how. It's usually not on there all that tight, but guess my boy Mike cranked that down. So don't lose that. Just set that right aside. And now the back cover we are going to end up taking off completely. Get it out. There we go. All right. This tape looks greased a lot better than most of them. Actually, this is greased really well. I don't know, maybe just some of them they cheaped out on the grease a little bit, but mine it had very little. I don't know if maybe this grease just dried up. And it's real crusty. Or I don't know. Maybe Mike's tape just isn't as old as mine, but I don't think I'm gonna really even scrape that old grease off, but use some super lube, white lithium grease, wheel bearing grease, whatever you got. I think we'll just add a little bit more on there since we have it cracked open. And I don't know, a little bit something like that. Want something on there. Do a dab right there. Now, don't go too crazy with the grease because obviously, what is it? I think, you pack it full of too much grease and you're going to clog the guy up. What I'm going to do is just stick a little bit on there just to keep any moisture from getting in here. I think that's another thing that kind of kills them. You get moisture and then you get oxidation, and aluminum doesn't rust, but it gets crusty a little bit. So I'll just do something like that. Oh, don't lose your bushing. Make sure you got the gears and the bushings put back together right. Kind of preemptively line up those holes. On this cover, keep any dog hair from getting in it. That's important too. I'm going to put a little bit right around the border. Same thing, spread that around just a little bit to kind of keep the moisture away. You're out in the field all day with these things, getting rained on, snow, sleet. weather takes its toll on anything. So a little bit like that, you know, just a thin layer, kind of like your, if you've ever worked on an older car with hub bearings, you know, you don't want to pack the whole wheel hub on the brake rotor full of grease. You just want to, you know, put a thin coat just to keep things from rusting. Line your holes back up. And put your screws back in. Lined up good. There's my nut. I just have to give the tape a little bit of tug to get that to kind of seat itself. And I like to give it just a little drop of thread locker. Don't crank too hard on that. It is, you know, a little thread and a little nut. Don't want to strip it. I think, yeah, that's plenty. Okay. Especially for this this top screw where your spring clip goes in, just give these screws just a little bit of blue Loctite. Up at technical school when we were using these things for just about a couple hours at least every day, I swear out in the woods, you know, people would have these things clipped to their hip, you know, walking around for a few hours, you know, cruising timber, whatnot. Like half my class lost their clips, you know, their tape would go flying off, and you know, you lose the screws, and you know, you can kind of cheat it. You can take this clip and, you know, just stick it right through a bolster or something, and you know, that's fine. But yeah, it's a pain in the butt for your tape to go flying off of you. So put a little bit of thread locker on that, on the screws that hold in your clip, and that pretty much keeps it from going anywhere. And just tighten these with like your 3 fingers on a screwdriver. Don't really crank on them because you'll strip them. And this guy, we're gonna pull out just enough to keep it from keep it still lined up. Put a drop on there, it'll seep in. And now you're ready to retension the front side. And you know, after you tension it, you can go back and just make sure all those screws on the back are still good. But I know for those guys, it's usually the 75 footers. It's around 6 full rotations. But this guy kind of felt like less, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the 100 footers have bigger springs. So let's see actually. All right, we'll call that 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is the 100 footer, so it is going to be a little bit more sluggish, I think. But I think that's pretty good for now. Ultimately, you are probably gonna have to, you know, head out in front of your house, stick it into a tree, make sure your tension's right. But don't just really crank on it, you know. You can probably get away with doing plus or minus a twist or two, but there comes a point where if you tighten the spring so much, you won't be able to pull out completely. So just be cognitive of that. You know, those guys, if you crank them down too much, you won't even be able to walk out a full chain. So that's kind of important for your measurements. So there you go. If your D-tape gets a little sluggish on you, try packing it full of a little bit of grease and adjusting the tension. That should fix it right up for you. It'll be coming back to you, no problem. So yeah, actually it's hot snap here. Twisted tapes. That's pretty quick. Hope I helped some of you out.